Ernie, my man, what is going on? Welcome back. Well, welcome back. What am I saying welcome back for? Dude, I'm so used to saying welcome back to people because I have my own podcast, but you know what? I messed up. That's fine. I figured I'd get you laughing like right off the bat like I did yesterday. So fuck it. We're going to have some fun here. Here we are, Faceoff Sports Network. We got the live stream going. I'm Ryan. I'm joined by Ernie. And as we know, we're going to be talking the biggest ADP risers and movers based on DraftKings because you said DraftKings ADP is one of the best to have right now, right? Right, Ernie?
Absolutely. I love their rankings. I think it's very fair.
Yeah. So it's like I looked at it a little bit. I'm like, all right, we'll talk about that, but we're definitely gonna hit some like news and notes first. It's always something that I always like to look at. Like when I see something come across a blurb, like especially like today about Derrick Henry signing that new contract, 2 years. Was it 2 years, 15 million, 2 year, 30 million? Jesus Christ, I can't even speak. With 25 million guaranteed. Dude, he's 30 years old.
Right.
Did he like? Is he like some type of like taking some fountain of youth? What the hell? Like, I don't get it. 30 years old, like he's beating the age apex. I don't care what anyone's saying.
Sure.
2 more years, dominant running back, 5.9 yards per carry. Are you still buying Derrick Henry right now?
I am. After that commitment, I definitely am. And so I'm a big analytics guy, and I appreciate the GMs that do use the analytics because, like, it's true. Running backs at the age of 27, post 27, they do fall off, right? And the chances of injury are much higher. That's all very real. However, then you have these specimens, like you said, the fountain of youth. I just personally think, like, you look at a Derrick Henry and you look at a Saquon Barkley, and it's like, all right, this guy's built like the Black Panther. So his genetics are probably a little bit different than the average Joe. So I think that's why you're seeing this explosion. Again, it's the talent. You have Barkley on a run first team with an awesome offensive line. You have Derrick Henry on a run first team with a good offensive line, right? And I understand why people are afraid to pay running backs, and they have been in the past. But now you're seeing some teams kind of shell out a little money because at the end of the day, when you have a team like Baltimore, and yes, Derrick Henry is 30 years old, man, and he's got a metal plate in his foot, right? It doesn't matter because they're in win now mode, and they know that they're going to run him into the ground, and there is some juice left. It's the same thing with Saquon. You saw that recommitment after they won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I just think you have these backs that kind of defy the analytics because they're just built different, man. They're we're witnessing some of the greatest running backs of all time, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely, once I saw the Ravens recommitted, I would definitely, especially in redraft, I think Derrick Henry is a smash pick this year. Very
Yeah, I
safe.
mean, just like DJ saying, like, Derrick Henry is a cyborg. And I was just going to say the same thing, dude. He's like Robocop. He's like the Terminator. He's a T-1000. What blows my mind about him, here's a stat from PFF among all running backs in 2024. Derrick Henry, 93.5 yard or 93.5 rushing grade, first. 1,137 yards after contact, first. 81 missed tackles, forced, first. 93 first down rushes. And guess what that finished as?
First.
Exactly. The number one running back, dude. Well paid, well deserved. I'm happy for him. And based on the ADP, and we're looking at DraftKings ADP, if you guys are curious about best ball, they have Derrick Henry at the back end of the first round, pick 11. If everything stays true and he still has this fountain of youth, which I still believe in, I'm hitting the smash at the turn there, especially at the back end of the first round, because I feel like the running backs are great there. But even like after that turn, like you can get, Christian McCaffrey, you could have a possibility of having Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey on the same team, which is like something that's never heard of because Christian McCaffrey going at 12 right now just seems nuts. And I feel like, people are kind of tripping on that because it's like, all right, yeah, we got bit in the butt last year on Christian McCaffrey. I'm one of those owners, or I was one of those managers who took him 101, thinking, that upside's too high. But if I'm able to get both of them right now, man, easy smash.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, the mistake was you didn't handcuff yourself with Jordan Mason. I'm just kidding. Yeah, dude, a lot of people got burned with CMC. Again, he's a amazing player. The tendonitis, the Achilles tendonitis already had. It was just a weird injury, and I think it caught a lot of people off guard because I remember going into the season, they were like, oh, like, he's kind of got something mild. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, like he needs to go to Germany and meet with the specialist. And it's like, dude, like we already did all our drafts. So, yeah, no, I like that because if you can get, CMC and Derrick Henry, right? And they're both, they both a healthy year, right? Which I
Yeah,
have more confidence in Derrick Henry. He's a tank, but if you get CMC to stay healthy, man, yeah, dude, like I agree with your logic. That would kind of be nuts. One of the guys that I'm targeting in that section, I think a good combo would be Derrick Henry and Nico Collins. Like, I think Nico Collins, I believe his ADP is like 13 right now.
yes,
Him to me, he is like one of my absolute favorite targets. Like, you look at his PFF grade, I think he's top 3, if I'm not mistaken. He was on pace to break 2,000 yards in his first 4 weeks, right? Right before he got that hamstring injury. And I think because, he was hurt and he didn't get to put together a full season, his value is kind of, buy low, if you will, because you look at the receivers going in the first round, and I feel like you can make an argument that Nico Collins could be going over a lot of these guys. Like, I'm a big Puka Nakua stan, right? But they just got Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? You
yeah.
look at the Texans, I know who CJ Stroud, if CJ Stroud's playing, I know who he's going to early and often every game. He doesn't even have his best friend Tank Dell anymore. And they got 2 rookies. Like, Higgins is nice, Noel is nice. They're good football players, right? But I know for a fact, like, Nico Collins is going to be a target hawk, where it's like Puka, will Puka still probably be the undisputed wide receiver 1 there? Of course, right? But, McVay is really high on Adams. I was watching a clip on the Rams the other day, and they're going to utilize Devontae Adams. Like, they have a plan. They're showing his film to other teammates. So my whole point is that when you get an alpha wide receiver that's top 5 at their position according to PFF, is the really only good veteran on their team, right? And that he's produced at an elite level before. I think it's a smash pick.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, love it, love it, love it. And I can back it up 100%. One thing I have a hard time trying to back up, and you and I talked about this earlier on the phone, is Derek Carr retiring. How the heck do we feel about like the Saints in general?
Dude, I mean, so there's so many ways this can go, but how I most likely see it, like if I'm just using logic, right? The new offensive coordinator is Nussmeier, right? That's Garrett Nussmeier's father. And Garrett Nussmeier is a blue chip quarterback prospect. And it's also in a draft class where there's 2 other blue chip quarterback prospects now. That could still change. Like, there could be some risers. You know what I mean? You have Archie Manning, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the landscape of the NFL, I think, 2 teams really stick out to me the most, and that's the Saints and the Giants in terms of, like, again, like the Giants have some pieces, right? But you look at the roster and it's like, I can't see this team winning more than 5 games. But the only team that I feel is like has a worse roster is the Saints. And they did make an investment in that quarterback that went in the second round. But I think that they will be tanking, without saying it, because first of all, the schedule. You look at their schedule; they're going to lose a lot of games, and why would you bring in a new head coach, an OC that has a son that's a highly rated quarterback in this upcoming draft? So part of me wants to stay away from the Saints altogether because I could see them being sellers at the trade deadline. Like, I could see Alvin Kamara, like they find a team, and I understand he just got a new contract, but there could be a team like Kansas City where it's like, okay, Kamara would eat. They need a boost in the
Yeah,
run game. Pacheco hasn't been himself, some legit contenders. Um, but I just think they're going to be down every game. The only player that I would be buying is Chris Olave. I think he'll eat in Kellen Moore's offense. I think they're going to be down every game, so they're going to be chucking. They got to throw the ball to somebody. But how I'm feeling about the Saints, not to be a hater, I just don't think they're going to be too good. I think they're set up to, get a top 3 pick in next year's class. I think they're happy with that. I really do.
Yeah, like looking at Alvin Kamara, he's going to his age 30. They could
Yep.
actually cut him this season right now,
Hmm.
and it's a huge dead cap hit. And I told you, it's like I feel like the Saints are the team that always just keeps kicking the can year after year. Like they tried so hard to give Drew Brees something that was actually valuable to just try to get to the Super Bowl, and it worked in like the late 2000s. But after that, it just never worked, and they just keep kicking the can and re-signing players. Like they won't do a true like rebuild, like tear it all down, start it all over. They're always in a huge cap conundrum.
Hmm.
And looking at their contract, like Alvin Kamara's contract right now, his dead cap money is freaking ridiculous right now this year, dude. 28.335. Come on, like
That's
how
insane.
could like good for him, good for
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara to get paid. Like I'm glad, but to set your franchise up for a head of 28.3 and then thinking like, oh, well, then 26 can't be that much worse. 26 is
Right.
just as bad, 18.2. Come on. So you
Right.
have
Wow.
almost basically you can say around 50 million wrapped up just in dead cap in 2 years if you just do anything with Alvin Kamara. Now, I'm not sure what his exact trade clause is, if he's allowed to be traded, but based on Sport Track, it's like, my gosh, man, like the Saints are just stupid. And then I like one of my friends, he's definitely a big Saints fan, and he's like, they just need to end it, tear it all down, and start all over. And
Yep.
I think Saints fans would possibly be fine with that. If there's any Saints fans out here, let me know. Not quite sure. So we'll see what happens on that one. But
Yep.
the whole Tyler Shaw thing too, like that's one that blows my mind. Like people are like, oh yeah, definitely go for him in your rookie draft. Like, he's easily a second round pick. Have you ever seen him play? He's the same age as Brock Purdy, so 24. Yeah, age isn't a thing, but he came to the same class as I was. I think it was even Trevor Lawrence was in that same class, if I
Right.
remember correctly. And Shaw has a tendency to throw interceptions. He's very good at throwing picks, and this team is going to struggle. If I'm going to go after anyone in this team, you like Chris Olave, I like Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill is one of those late round tight ends I would be all over. So I would definitely be looking to target him, especially if he can be double position. Hopefully he goes just tight end. But if he gets
Yeah.
tight end, man, I mean, that's just a weapon that is definitely good to get good piece to buy, especially super late. Like, let me see here real quick. I'm gonna jump over to the ADP to kind of see where he's
Yeah.
at. And he's well past 100. I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. I don't think he'll be around 200. Taysom Hill comes in at 182, so he's around 200. Basically, he's your last round pick.
For sure.
That I am smashing all day long. If I
Oh yeah.
can, if I need to get a team that needs a defense or a kicker, and I can pass on them, this is the point where I'm doing it. But like for best ball leagues, I would definitely be all over Taysom Hill right now. I mean, going around him just alone, like these are players that are around him. Alec Pierce, Keenan Allen has no team. Hunter Henry,
Right.
Jalen Noel, a rookie. Joshua Palmer, a great story, but yeah, nothing's happened. Jerome Ford, a whole new backfield with Quinshon Judkins and
Yeah.
Dylan Sampson. So why not go after something that has potential upside instead of saying, well, these guys could hit, but I don't want any of those guys. So I'm hitting a hard pass on those.
For sure. I couldn't agree with you more, man. Um I think there's a lot of teams that would be happy with a reset, and I think you hit it on the head. Like Saints fans, they're definitely one of them. I'm a Giants fan. I would be happy with a reset. Like, give me Bill Belichick and Archie Manning. You know what I mean? And like, I
Yeah.
get it. Bill Belichick is old, right? But dude, he's still Bill Belichick, and it's like if he could come in here, produce a winning culture, win a championship, and then sets up a nice foundation for the next guy to come in, that's a win-win. I'm sure the Saints would want the same thing. So it really
Mm-hmm.
comes down to it's like, you look at the Sixers, years ago, trust the process, right? And they tank and they get all it's the same logic, man. Like you got to be real with yourself sometimes. And it's like, all right, like our roster's terrible. We can get a blue chip quarterback in this upcoming draft. We're in the cellar one more year, but the healing begins next year, right?
Yeah.
And that's what every fan wants, man. They want a quarterback. They want the hope. They want a good GM, building the trenches. So I'm with you. And as for your Taysom Hill pick, yeah, dude, like if you miss out on one of the premier tight ends early and now you kind of loaded up on wide receiver, running back, you got your quarterback set, you're going to have to take some dart throws late at tight end,
Right. Absolutely.
So that's where it's like, I think you hit it on the head where it's like the Saints are going to be such a messy offense and they're going to be down pretty much every game, right? They're going to be chucking the ball. And it's like, okay, who's going to benefit from that? Chris Olave, Taysom Hill,
Yep.
So it's like, I think Taysom Hill could be a great value, definitely late man. And I'm sure he's going to have some boom weeks. He's going to run a touchdown in, throw one at the goal line, and boom, there you have 20 points right there.
Mm-hmm. And then we had a friend ask, is Pete completely still going to be on the show? So he tweet that he was leaving. And sorry to say ace of spade, but Pete has left and we wish him the best, but he will definitely hopefully be pretty successful at his next gig with what he's doing. Oh, here's another great one, man. So Ryan asked, 10-team dynasty win now. Would you send Olave for Henry? My other running backs are Brees, Jacobs, Kamara, ETN, Ramondre. Thanks.
Brees, Jacobs, Ramondre. Here's the thing. If he could get Henry and a pick, I would be more inclined to do that because here's where it kind of gets murky, right? And it's like Derrick Henry, there's a very, very, very strong possibility he finishes top 10 this year, barring any injury. Fantasy production for a running back. But then it's like, okay, you have Chris Olave, he's 24, right? We know he's a stud that's been affected by bad teams, no quarterback play. Let's say the Saints do have the number one pick next year and they draft Archie or Nussmeier. Now you're going to be hating yourself a little bit because Chris Olave's value just skyrocketed. You know what I mean? And now you're going to see that Chris Olave everybody was hyping up only 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a tough one. I would, I think I would be more inclined to trade Jacobs.
You think Jacobs is basically more like on a 1-year deal here?
Oh, wait, he wants to trade. Wait, he's trading Olave
and he'd get
for
Henry.
Derrick Henry, and he would get Henry, and those are the running backs he has.
Yeah.
You know what? If
he's winning now, he wants to win now.
He wants to win now. Then, if he wants to do that, man, then I would trade Olave. If he's so gun ho on winning now, I would trade Olave for Henry and try to get some picks with him.
If you get a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I would aim high, ask for the first. The kid might get it. I'm in a ton of dynasty leagues where people give picks away like they're free.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at least a second, because you're gonna get, realistically one more good year, maybe two from Derrick Henry, because eventually the beast is gonna have to go down.
Well, eventually too, we got to be careful when we say Arch Manning coming out, because there's no guarantee that he will come out next year, depending on who has that first pick. We've seen many stories like Eli Manning. Look at him.
Yep.
The Chargers we're going to draft him. He said, "Don't draft me. I'm not going to play for you." What happens? They draft him. Yeah. Then what happens? The Giants drafted Phillip Rivers, and then they traded. So what benefit was that? If Arch Manning doesn't come out, then what?
Sure.
What if Nussmeier takes a step back? Like, I feel like it's always easier to say, like, we got to be careful of who this number one quarterback is, because look at the year Joe Burrow came out. The year prior to that, he wasn't even on the radar. He was more of a 6th-round pick, free agent that was going to be out. Yeah. Now, so I'm waiting to see who this next quarterback is going to pop out. I don't think it's going to be Arch Manning as the number one overall pick. I think it's going to be someone that's not even listed yet.
My thing with RG Manning is I personally believe him and his family came out and said that because they want to use it as a buffer, right? So it's like now, we could tell, Eli, you brought up a perfect example, right? Eli, I bet if they could redo it, they would almost do something similar, right? Because now Archie's in the position where him and his family could scan the team's year one. So they could see who's picking in the top 5. And it's like, do I like any of these teams enough to enter the draft, right? And let's say it's, three teams that they don't want to play for at all. Now Archie could say, you know what, I'm going to stay one more year. I'm going to soak up some more NIL money, and that's it. But yeah, no, nothing is guaranteed at all. Some of these guys could take a step back, and then there's going to be guys like you said, like Joe Burrow, took a massive step forward and became the first overall pick. So people definitely have to be careful. Me personally, I'm very bullish on next year's quarterback prospects. I think Aller's going to be a stud. I think Nussmeier's going to be a stud. And I love Archie Manning. I'm a guy that I think when Archie Manning declares, he will be the first overall pick. But to your point, it's all speculation, man. None of this is guaranteed.
No, it's way too early. I mean, I always do like a early look at rookies that are coming in the following class, like usually sometime in October, and
Yeah.
then I revise it again, like look back at it like in February and March time before the draft, and see how much it changes, and it changes dramatically. Like players who said they were oh yeah, this guy comes out, man, he's a guaranteed first round pick. Like last season, I was all about like Trevion Henderson, and then sure enough, he's went back. But what happened again? Trevion Henderson still went in the first round of your rookie draft right now. So he didn't actually lose any value. He actually gained value.
Yep.
So, all right,
I
man.
agree with you, man.
Moving on, we're going to hit up the DraftKings ADP. And looking at one of the first ones, and I can't express this enough. I'm going to hit you with this one because you and I kind of bounce back and forth saying, we're going to kind of go over round by round, kind of look at some players. I'm looking at the number 7 overall player, and that's Ashton Jeanty. Is that too high for a rookie running back to go right now? That out of Boise State, going to the Las Vegas Raiders, is that actually really someone that you're actually willing to draft that high?
No.
Or is it someone that you're willing to pass on and let it be someone else's possible headache?
I'm gonna pass on Ashton Jeanty. I'm a Jeanty fan. I thought his bowl game versus Penn State really, should have got rid of any doubts if this kid can play. He definitely can play. Listen, the reality is he plays in the AFC West, which in my opinion is the best division in football. You have the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos. The Chargers and Broncos are both about to take massive steps, right? And now you throw Pete Carroll into the mix, who is an awesome coach. Like the Raiders are going to be scrappy. However, your offense is Geno Smith. You don't have a fully filled offensive line, right? There's a lot of holes in their offensive line. You have a rookie wide receiver and Jacoby Myers. So it's like, I think everybody knows you're going to give Ashton Jeanty a monster workload. And I think he'll be a volume king his first year. He's going to get a ton of touches, a lot of volumes. You always see that in Pete Carroll's teams. But I just think for the players, like on the board, like give me Nico Collins over Ashton Jeanty all day. I'll do that. And then I'll take like Amari and Hampton in the 4th or 5th round. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't think, and again, I love Jeanty, right? I'm just going off of landing spot, where they're being drafted right now. I don't think he's worth the price tag, right? And it's like Hampton, you're going on a better team that is going to pound a football. Like Harbaugh is going to run the ball all day, every day, right? And Hampton is probably one of the most athletic running backs in this class. So I don't think his value is that far off. And you're getting him, 3-4 rounds later, possibly. Again, can Najee Harris come in and, be annoying? I mean, he could, but I watched Omari and Hampton play football at UNC, and this kid I think he's a clone of Nick Chubb. Like, I think that's who the Chargers got in Hampton. So I am definitely not taking Jeanty at his price tag. Not for me.
So I'm a huge Omarion Hampton Stan fan right now because I learned something about him. Prior to going to North Carolina, there was a coach that's currently in the NFL that tried recruiting him, and he chose North Carolina over this team. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Tell me it's Harbaugh, Michigan.
It is Harbaugh. Well, went after him hard. He turned it down. So he figured, I can't get him here. I can at least get him there. Now here we are at the Chargers. and he now has his running back that he tried to get.
Dude, Ryan, that's actually an awesome nugget. I didn't know that. And I right now, like some of my friends hate me how much of an Omari and Hampton stan I am, but the fact that that's real, I'm now telling everybody, please, please draft Omari and Hampton. I think honestly, and last year if you said this, you would have been called crazy. If you were like Malik Neighbors should go ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Everybody would have
Oh
said,
yeah,
no way.
you're nuts.
Yeah, right. And they're both phenomenal prospects and players. The reality is that, these guys go into a little bit better landing spots. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'm starting to get the same vibe with these two. Like, I think there's a very real world where Hampton outproduces Genty this year, you know? And it's just mirroring last year. Where again, if you took Marvin Harrison in Dynasty first overall, that's still an amazing pick. He's going to break out in a monstrous way in the near future. Could be this year, could be the next year. Sometimes these guys take, 3 years, like Nico Collins was a year 3 breakout, right?
Yeah.
But dude, I love from Omari and Hampton's Raz to the landing spot to his production in college, the film. I just think this is like a dream scenario. So I am with you, dude. I am a huge Amari and Hampton stan, and I think you want to talk about smash pick. He might be my favorite 4th round best ball pick right now. Seriously, because I think, dude, if Najee isn't annoying, right, and Harbaugh uses him like a bell cow, I don't see how he doesn't finish as a top 10 running back. I,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
honestly don't. Like, because it's like just off the volume alone. And you look at the Chargers, like, dude, they have Slater, Joe Alt. Like, so that's like arguably, because you look at Philly, Philly has #1 offensive line in the league, but in terms of like a young rising offensive line, like the Chargers are right there, dude. So like they're gonna be able to run the football at will. Like Harbaugh's been preparing for this. Like that's why last year he didn't take Neighbors, he took Joe Alt. And he came out with that quote where he's like, "Oh, don't you like when we could just run the ball whenever we want? The defense gets long breaks. Isn't that nice?" And that was his philosophy on why I'm going to take an offensive lineman. So he's been gearing up for this, man, and I'm with you, dude. Omari and Hampton all day. Would love Genty, not buying him at the 7 ADP. No shot.
No, wait, that's way too high. And I'm trying to
Yes.
look real quick to see exactly where Justin Herbert. He's after pick 100 right now. Since we're on the Chargers, pick 100. That's the back end QB. Dude, he's going after Brock. He's going after Brock Purdy and just before CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott. So nice late round quarterback. I am definitely smashing on right there. I mean, I understand that. Yeah, we're gonna jump up and down here, but like I figured since we were on the O'Mara and Hampton, I'm like I might
Oh
as well
yeah.
see like where Justin Herbert is because no, I'm 100% behind you on that. They bolstered that offensive line. They got him another. They got Justin Herbert 2 more weapons. And Trey Harris also. Let's
Yes.
not forget.
Yes.
And then also signed a couple veteran tight ends. So to help him out even more, that running game is going to be good, and a good running game leads to a good passing game, and the rest is all history from there.
Yeah. Dude, no, I'm actually happy you brought those 2 players up, Harris and Justin Herbert. I'm about to, when we're done talking, I'm going to send you a screenshot of my last 3 best ball drafts. Dude, my favorite thing, so like 100, that's like what, round 8, I believe, right? 8 or 9. I have been taking Herbert and Trey Harris on that wraparound every draft I can do right now. First of all, I love Harbaugh. I don't know if you saw this. The other day, he said he woke up in the middle of the night and he just goes, "I have to get Justin Herbert into the Hall of Fame," which is hilarious. But it makes you love him.
Oh
But
yeah.
you look at the Chargers, who again, I am extremely bullish on the Chargers. It's almost unfortunate because I love every team in the AFC West right now. Like just from like a football fan point, like it's like I'm literally watching like 3 really good gladiators go into a pit and kill each other, and unfortunately there can only be one winner. But the Chargers are loading up, dude. Like they are loading up, and I was a Lad McConkey truther last year. That was one of my big three rookie sleepers that were going later in drafts, like after round 5.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Thomas, JSN, Lad McConkey. And because Lad McConkey, why? He's going into Keenan Allen's slot role. But now, Trey Harris, Trey Harris is one of my favorite receivers in this draft, right? And Harborough was tempted to take him in the first round, right? And Horich was like, no, like, trust the
Oh, my running
board,
back.
growing with the running back. He goes, trust the board. We're going to get Harris. That's our guy. We're going to get him round 2. And they were all nervous, but it actually worked out, fell to them. Their department did great. And I think that is going to be a grand slam pick, not a home run, grand slam. Like, I think Trey Harris is going right into that Mike Williams X role. And yeah, I saw that they brought Mike Williams back. Personally, I'm not too worried from a fantasy standpoint. I think Mike Williams is a better real life addition, right, to like the Chargers team than threat in fantasy. The guy's
Yeah.
old, right? Like, I think he's just good depth. There's a familiarity there, and he's very injury prone. Where it's like Trey Harris, like you look at Trey Harris's stats before he got hurt, he was like first in everything. So now you're getting Justin Herbert, who I think it was like 2 years ago, he was like the second pick in Superflex leagues. Like he was going right after Josh Allen, and everybody expected this major explosion and it didn't happen. So now the value has kind of gone down a little bit, and I get that. But this is where you buy low, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's a different story. You have the offensive line, you have the coach, you have the running game, and now they have 2 really good receivers. Like, I think Trey Harris is going to make just as big of an impact as Lad McConkey did. I would not be shocked if you see Trey Harris go for 1,000 yards this year. And then in the 5th round, they drafted Gadsden, the tight end from Syracuse. Very athletic tight end. He's a receiving tight end. But what was interesting to me was Horich traded up for him. So he is like, they traded up for this guy in the 5th round. They said it was one of their guys. Harborough was like, we have a plan for you for day 1 to come in and make an impact.
Uh-oh. Really, we lost Ernie on that one. Let's see if he comes back here in 1 second. If not, I'm going to jump ahead and look at one player I'm definitely not really high on, and that's Devon A-Chain. That's because, 2nd round, I think we're kind of buying more into what he did last season, and I don't see a repeat of that with going into this season. I see this more as a Jalen Waddle type season, just because, look at, like, they're trying to, it's almost like you feel like they're almost trying to replace him with other running backs. Jalen right there turned out well. Let me see. I think Ernie's coming back. Nope. He ain't coming back. Nope, there he is. Oh, nope, there he's gone.
Sorry
Ernie,
about that. Lost you for a second.
I say we got you back. I jumped on the Devon A-Chain since you left. As someone who I think should be falling. Am I falling too much for the hype because of all the running backs they keep drafting? Over there and down there in Miami? Or is it something that should be seen? Because, going 17th overall, I think is his peak. I don't see him being as a solid RB1. I mean, you can draft him as your RB1, but I feel like he's just going to fall down.
I do. I'm sorry.
Right?
Lost you. I lost you for a second. What were you saying? My phone like spazzed out.
Oh, Devon A-Chain.
Oh, yeah.
And
so
they drafted Jalen right last year. They drafted Ollie Gordon this year, which was a rising star that in the fantasy community as a top end running back who faltered this past season. And it's like, yeah, all right, Mike McDaniel, I understand like he's a late round running back, but Devon A-Chain was a little bit more higher draft capital. I feel like this is like they're trying to move on from him or trying to have more rotational back. Like drafting him as an RB1, I don't think he has an RB1 capability. I still think he's more RB2, possibly RB3. I think last year was an anomaly where he was actually able to perform because he had such those big runs. Those big runs was what helped him.
Yes.
If and defenses change every year. They understand you better as a player year in and year out. So just because you think he did it one year, he's not going to do it this year. I don't think he's going to do it this year. Am I crazy for thinking that and thinking that he's also too high going in the 2nd round?
No, dude, I think you're smart. I love it. It's contrarian, and you'll get killed right now if you're like, oh, I don't think A Chain is a top five running back. I don't.
I
It
don't.
has nothing to do with the talent. He's obviously uh, a PPR treasure chest, right? Like he catches the ball, he does everything. McDaniels is a very creative offensive coordinator. However,
Mhm.
you look at the landscape of the Dolphins, right? And they've added some quiet backs behind them. Like you have Jalen Wright last year, who I actually think is a solid football player. Ollie Gordon, who is a stud at Oklahoma State. Um, and now you have Tua, right? That's my biggest concern because it's like, all right, man, like Tua, like has nothing to do with the person. It's just like with your medical concerns, how much longer are you going to play? And like I know the team's supportive saying like, oh, we're not worried about his health or whatever. I mean, dude, I personally think he's one more concussion away from never playing. And you look at A Chain's numbers when Tua is not playing, dude, he's a flex. You know what I mean?
At best.
So I don't know if I want a running back that's tied to Tua's health. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's where it's like, all right, because then you're going to have Quinn Ewers come in. And I love Quinn Ewers. I think he's a solid quarterback. Des Bryant tweeted, oh, he's the next Dan Marino, right? But what are the odds of that really happening? Probably very slim. So now it's like, okay, you're going to rely on a rookie quarterback leading an offense and being productive. I think there's too much risk for me with A Chain. Again, he's like if somebody came down from heaven and was like, hey man, like Tua is playing all 17 games this year, I would be more inclined to take A Chain. I just don't know. And I think a lot of his numbers are inflated from the big plays. And again, you can't take that from him because the coach is scheming it. He has that big play home run ability, but it's just somebody that I don't feel the safest in investing. Every year you have these guys that burn you, right? And it's people
Mhm.
that we never expect. It's always players that you would never expect to burn you, and they do. So I agree with you, man, completely on A Chain. His value, like his price tag, and the risks that come with him, not for me.
And I'm willing to eat crow on this one too, because I could see him starting off strong right off the beginning of the season. Dominant, putting up RB1 numbers, and everyone's gonna look at me and say, "See, like you were wrong." But as soon as Tua goes down or anything
Yes.
happens on offense, he's gonna flounder. I mean, his very last game was against the Browns. He had like 10 carries for 25 yards. So you're telling me a 2.5 yard, average carry is really good? No, it's not
Right.
good at all. That doesn't help you get fantasy points at all. So I'm definitely out on him.
And then the
Um,
last thing, the cherry on top with him is like, dude, like to your defense too, dude, he weighs like 180 pounds. Like he's not built, but he's a great football player. I like
oh
him. I'm
yeah,
not hating on Devin A Chain. I'm just like with you, man, where it's like there's way too much risk. His size to his health. Like, does that all sound like a safe investment to me? It doesn't. But
no.
to each his own.
And if you have him or you draft him in your redrafts here, I'd be willing to trade him after that big first game because you'll be getting a ransom for him.
Yep. If you got any Dolphins fans, take advantage.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, looking on through here. Oh, wow, Devontae Adams, pick 36. The 32-year-old wide receiver still has high ADP. Are you buying that? Are you selling? Or do you think he should drop more? Or is this going up? I think this is going up. I think he was like
I
a seventh round pick prior to this.
Yeah, dude. I love Devonte Adams. This hurts me to say because like the Rams in the NFC are one of my Super Bowl picks this year. Like I usually pick like three from each side that I could see going all the way. The Rams are one of them. Like I love the Rams. I love Les Snead. I think Les Snead is a dog. Like, dude, that guy is such a savage as a GM and just like his ability to draft late. Like, dude, if you play fantasy football, how do you not respect this guy? Puka Nakua, Kyron Williams. Like, dude, the list goes on, right? And Sean McVay, dude, he's like coming from somebody that used to play sports. That's a guy I would die for. Like, that's a coach I would literally die for. Like, he's the man. So I love the Rams. I am unfortunately out on Devontae Adams again because it's not the player. He's an amazing player. I think it's awesome for the Rams in real life. However, Puka Nakua, I think, is a dog. Like, I think Puka Nacua is easily one of the best receivers in the NFL. McVay knows it. I don't think Devontae Adams is going to change that. I do think Devontae will have solid numbers. He could, 900, right? Maybe 1,000. Do you see him putting up wide receiver one numbers? I don't. I think, if anything, this benefits Matt Stafford, who is going, like, I think 147. He
Mhm.
might be a nice buy low now, because now you got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, right? So he's going to be able to, like, McVay is a genius, dude. So he's going to be able to, cut teams apart. But I just don't think, you're talking about, you said like 35 or 36. Like, that is a fourth round pick, and you might be getting, you know, lower end wide receiver two production, where it's like, I'd rather take Rashi Rice there. Like, yeah, like Rashi Rice is coming off
Yeah.
of an ACL injury, right? But I know if Rashi Rice is playing week one and his court case, like, if that gets, which I read is actually really a viability, that it gets pushed back, give me Rashi Rice, because I know what Rashi Rice is going to do. I think Devontae Adams' name is kind of inflating his not only his value, but the situation that he's in, because you replace him with some other receivers and you take away the name Devontae Adams, you're not drafting that player in the fourth round. So I
Right.
think it's better for the Rams, better for Matt Stafford. Me personally, I don't find myself drafting Devontae Adams, only because I think he's going to be the wide receiver too in a good offense. So again, dude, he could smash. I'm not saying that he can't. I could be completely wrong. I just think he's going to be second fiddle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like they overpaid for him, but like he wanted to get paid one last time. He still has that peak performance where he still looks good, but was that more of an Aaron Rodgers type of thing? Because it
Right.
showed that he struggled in Vegas a little bit.
Right.
It's like that rug's gonna come out here soon. I mean, look at Antonio Brown. He was at peak performance and then turned 30 and then went downhill. Same with
For
Julio
sure.
Jones. He was dominating and then where did he get traded to?
Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah, and then just fell off. Like everyone was like, "Oh my god," everyone was still viewing him as a high end wide receiver too. He
Yep.
fell off. DeAndre Hopkins, he hasn't been the same either since he's been traded. Yeah, like these wide receivers will have their games, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, well he put up wide receiver one." Okay, you can put up a wide receiver one this week, but next week you put up 2 points. What does that tell you? You're
Right.
inconsistent.
Right.
It's the same thing like we could say with Cooper Cup. I feel like Cooper Cup and Devontae Adams are almost like the same. They have similar target share, but Cooper Cup definitely fell off a lot last season, and it showed. Like, yeah, he was still getting 12 to 15 targets, but he couldn't do anything with them. He was only maybe
Right.
catching half at best. So I feel like the end is near, and I'd rather be out a year early than a year too late on Devontae Adams. And this is the year I am out on Devontae Adams.
Dude, I'm in complete sync with you, man. I couldn't agree more. I've noticed that in the fantasy community, that name value really is a big driver in people's opinions. Like when you say, like, oh, I don't want, like, I think Mike Evans is another great example. It's probably one of my
Yes.
favorite receivers ever, a complete dog. Like, this is why I have no problem saying it, because I'm a Mike Evans fan. But, like, dude, he's eventually going to fall off. Like, the analytics are very real, right? And they're more accurate than wrong. Like, you have the anomalies, like we were talking before, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, right? The reality is you're right, dude. Like, the Rams just know that, okay, like, we almost beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. If Kyron Williams doesn't fumble, we probably win that game, and we're playing in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So they know that they have the team to make a run this year, right? And I think that's what Devontae Adams was. I think it's like, okay, and again, I'm going to give, my two boys, McVay and Lesney, the benefit of the doubt, because I'm against paying older household names, because the what's most likely to happen is you get that major fall off. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
Tennessee,
absolutely.
Tennessee, what, through a second round pick for Julio? And I get it, but you're acting like you're getting, like, 27-year-old Julio Jones. Nah, man, you're getting a very old, washed down version.
You're buying the name.
Yes. So I think the fantasy community needs to get better at, like, checking players' ages, right? And it's like, dude, if you have a receiver like Mike Evans that went off last year, right? And you have somebody in your league offering you something valuable, like a first round pick or whatever, do it. Because he's not going to be playing that much longer. It's the same thing you're saying with Devontae Adams, you know? Like Devontae Adams, if I had Devontae Adams, this would be the last year I kept him, right? If you don't, I personally, I would trade him. I would try to, like, get some upside, some youth. But you could hold him this year. He should have a solid year, a bounce back year, because you went from what, the Raiders and Jets, to now McVay, Stafford. So yeah, I'm with you, dude. I would sell high while everybody's still drawn into the name, because I feel like these names are just going to inflate these old players' values for sure.
Yeah, and the rep the king forever. He was even saying that Devontae would be a PPR. I'm guessing that's supposed to be machine, not scam, because if he stays healthy, yes. If he does stay healthy, he could do something. But I don't think it's going to be a consistent week in and week out type of thing, especially with Puka Nacua, the rest of the offense around there. I still think it's going to be more like, you know what? We need to figure out how to like argue against something instead of agreeing on stuff here, Ernie. I don't like this episode anymore. So it's like we're agreeing way too much. So I'm gonna say, yeah, you know what? Devontae Adams is gonna have a dominant season. I agree with Rep the King forever. I can't agree with you anymore. He's definitely gonna do something, because Rep the King and I also agree on the same thing, that they signed Devontae Adams over Cup, so that should mean something to us.
100%. I mean, Devontae Adams is a better player than Cooper Kupp right now. I think we
100%.
all know that. And yeah, dude, he could definitely be right. Like, I could see Devontae Adams going off this year. Like, again, like, I have the Rams potentially in the Super Bowl. I think they have an amazing GM. I think they have one of the better coaches in the league. I think there is a plan for Devontae Adams, and he's a top 2 pass catcher. So, if Devontae Adams has over 1,000 yards this year and 10 plus touchdowns, would I be shocked? No. But I just think what's more realistic is probably like 900 to 1,000, and then I could see, like, um, like 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I still think he'll be productive. He's going to have a solid season. I just think what me and you are saying is that where he's being drafted, his ADP is a little too steep for us. Like, it's a
Yeah.
little too much. Where it's like, if he was going round 6, round 7, a little later, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, if he's
Give me
going
that.
around where Cooper Cup's going right now, which is around pick 80, then yeah, like I feel comfortable having him more as a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2.
Like, let me ask you this, because here's another one, right? This one's interesting.
Okay.
Stephon Diggs, right? The Patriots, again, I don't think well, I don't want to say this because I didn't think it happened, but I think the Patriots will be a team that takes a major step forward this year. I love Mike Vrabel. I definitely could see them making the wild card. If they won the AFC East, that would be nuts. But I definitely could see them being in that wild card range. And they just paid Stephon Diggs, which I wasn't a big fan of, because again, Stephon Diggs is like 31. We saw the production go down in Buffalo, right? But Houston, he looked pretty good last year, right? Tore his ACL, came back. I've been checking him out on Twitter. He's working his ass off. Like, he's really, dude, he looks impressive right now. But my whole point is that he's the same age as Adams, right? Or like a year off. He's going, what, ADP 81,
Yeah.
right? And it's like Drake May is going to be a very good quarterback. And he was dying for a wide receiver 1. Now you have one, right? Where it's like, I think Diggs is going to enter a massive target share, right? Do I think he plays out all 3 years of his contract in New England? No way, right? But do I think, again, like, there will be at least one more year, maybe 2? I do, especially this year. So it's like, give me Stephon Diggs 40, like, what was it, 40 picks later, right? Because I'm getting the same receiver, but he's getting a wide receiver 1 volume, right? Where it's like Adams could still be very good, but it's like he's fighting with Puka Nacua,
Right.
right? So it's again, it's a gamble. I just think there's safer options at better cost. And we'll give you more bang for your buck.
Yeah, I mean, and he's coming in at 32. I didn't realize he was already 32. So
Yeah,
another,
he's up there.
aged wide receiver. And they have it out, so basically it's all truly like a 1-year deal where they'd be like a 9.7 million cap hit next season,
Yeah,
which isn't bad. But I like what you're saying about the New England Patriots. Like, they draft where they go offensive linemen in the first round,
yep.
and
They
then they
went
went
Travion
Henderson.
Henderson. Yeah.
who could definitely be a nice dump off back, better than what Ramondre Stevenson can do. And then Kyle Williams, was he third or fourth round?
He was the top of the third round. He's going to be a slot guy.
Yeah. So I mean, they're trying to put something around Drake London to help Drake London out, and hopefully, dude, I want to believe in Stephon Diggs. I mean, he signed a 3-year, $63.5 million contract, but it only includes 25 million guaranteed, so it's not really that much overall.
Yeah.
So it's an easy cut off of them if they really wanted to. It'd be 1 year, 20.2 million. They'd have to pay out. Whoop de doo. With the way the NFL contracts are going now, and these teams with dead money, they don't really seem to care that much anymore, just because of the new TV contract coming up in the next few years. Is my assumption. But if we can get Stephon Diggs before the ACL tear last season, then yes, I can believe you and what you're saying right now. Will it happen? I have to wait and start seeing it for myself. I'll have to do like what you did and look at the videos and get a better view to see how that cut's going, how's that knee bending, how everything is going together. Is he able to cut as quick? Is he able to turn as quick? Because, as a receiver, you're really digging that foot down. You're really pushing off that knee. You're twisting that knee. If he's able to do that and he's doing it just fine, I'd be willing to take him this late. Like, it's not that bad. I mean, you're looking at it, this is the time where you're starting to fill your bench roster. Or you're looking at it and saying, like, all right, especially for best ball, this is a guy who I don't need him right away, but if I get him later in the season, it's definitely well worth the cost. And that's, I'm sure that's what you're probably agree with me on that point too, right?
100%.
Yeah. So looking at, all right, we are 50 minutes in, so we'll start getting this wrapped up here soon. Try to keep this under an hour. We'll hit up a couple more players. Definitely they're talking rookies, and it's kind of hard to still tell because we don't know exactly what rookies are doing anything yet, just because they just had rookie camp.
Sure.
But if you had to kind of say what rookie you are super high on right now, who is one that you were targeting, especially late in drafts?
Late in drafts, so I have two. Actually, we just I'm gonna go with Kyle Williams is one. I love Kyle Williams, the receiver that the Patriots drafted. Again, because I'm with you on Stephon Diggs. Like, I'm not where he's at in his career. I would not have gave him a 3-year deal. But I think if you look at the details, it's probably more of like a 2-year deal, hoping that they could help Drake develop this first year, right? And then they'll eventually start building around him with more youthful pieces. But there's not a lot of bodies in New England. You know what I mean? Like, Vrabel's going to come in there and try to pound the shit out of the ball. That's his MO. Like, that's my guy. I love
yeah.
I love his brand. Like, Travion Henderson, dude, for a back that like you would think is just going to be a PPR monster, bro, watch this kid pass, bro. Like, he will throw it up in there, dude. Like, he's one of the better pass protection backs I've seen. And if you watch, oh yeah, for sure. And I think, like, dude, they'll have a nice tandem with Stevenson and Henderson. I do see Henderson eventually running away with that job for sure. But you look at outside of that, right? They have no receivers. So I think that's why they went and got Diggs, and then they drafted Kyle Williams. I am a big, big Drake May believer. Like, I think Drake May will be the truth. And he's got to throw it to somebody, right? So it's like, all right, you can get Stephon Diggs at 80, but if you're not a Stephon Diggs fan and you're a Drake May believer, then you should be smashing Kyle Williams. His ADP is 147 right now. He's going to play the slot. You go back to Drake May's UNC days, he fed the slot. Like, that's why Josh Downs was a 3rd-round pick. Like, he loved, like, that was his boy. He went to him early and often. So you look at their offense, again, nothing's set in stone yet, right? But I would put money on Kyle Williams playing the slot, right? And again, you already know he's a starter. You know he's tied to a good quarterback. He was drafted with pretty high draft capital. I'm taking a stab, dude, because if this kid comes in and let's say, both of us part of us believe Stephon Diggs is cooked. I could tell, right? Yeah. I'm just more in love with the landing spot and probably the year one volume. But the reality is if he is cooked, well, who's going to benefit from that? Kyle Williams. So give me Kyle Williams. The other one that I love is Patrick Bryant. Like, I love Patrick Bryant just because I am a big Sean Payton fan. I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the best to do it. I think when he drafts a player, he has a plan for them. Um, I think you've seen this throughout his entire career. Like Michael Thomas back in the 2017 or 2016, right? Like when I
Uh-huh.
first started playing fantasy football. One of my favorite articles I ever read was Sean Payton made a quote, and it goes, I don't play fantasy football, but if I did, I would draft Michael Thomas, right? And I was like, okay, I gotta draft this player. Same thing with Patrick Bryant. Like he took him in the third round, right? So it's pretty high draft capital.
Uh-huh.
Portland Sutton's getting up there. They don't really have any other wide receivers.
Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Um,
whoa, whoa, whoa. They don't have any other wide receivers. What about Marvin Mims?
so I'm a Marvin Mims guy. You know, I liked him his first year coming out, thinking he was going to play like that Brandon Cooks role. I think he's more of a better team asset than he will be for fantasy, right? Again, if Marvin Mims pops off this year, I wouldn't be shocked. Just me personally, I think you got Sutton playing the outside. I think you got Mims playing the slot, and then you're going to have Patrick Bryant playing that other outside receiver, right? And Cortland Sutton, speaking of household names with higher age, Sutton's getting there. You know what I mean? I think he's 30 years old this year.
Yeah.
Sean Payne is not paying him again, so I could see Pat Bryant coming in and getting some volume early on, and maybe he sneaks into being the wide receiver too, or he could be better than we thought, and now this guy is really Bo Nix's X of now and the future. So his ADP is 185, if I believe, or it might actually even be lower. Like you're getting this guy like
For free.
crazy late. Yeah, dude. Like, and again, he's a rookie, right now he's third on the depth chart. You got Sutton, Mims, and then, Pat Bryant. But it's like, okay, well, what if he's a hit? Like, like what if he is good? What if he comes in and he is, one of Bo Nix's now go-to target, who's another quarterback? I think that's going to take another step. So those are two of my favorite late round stabs right now in best ball.
Nice, because as whoops, wrong one. Wrong one again. As Brett the King Forever says, RJ Harvey will eat early, and he definitely will. And everyone thinks that too because he's dude. He's like fifth, sixth round pick right now, so not very much a sleeper right there, but definitely a riser just because of what Sean Payton will do in that offense.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I'm RJ Harvey. It's funny. I see some of the Dynasty memes making fun of his age, but it's like, dude, I don't care, because it's like, all right, Sean Payton is trying to win right now,
Uh
right?
huh.
And he was targeting RJ Harvey. His draft plan was, I believe, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. He was going Travion Henderson round one. No, he wasn't going Travion Henderson round one. He was going to try to trade back up for Travion Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen. So he waited, and RJ Harvey was their next guy. I also read that Gladstone and the Jaguars and Liam Cohen really wanted RJ Harvey. So now you're having some good offensive minds fighting over the same player. And RJ Harvey's not little. A lot of people, they look at his size and like, oh, he can't be a bell cow. I disagree. You
Yeah,
watch
right.
his tape at UCF, dude. He is a beast. Like, dude, he has huge legs.
It's like a
He
bowling
could
ball.
yeah, dude. He reminds me of like a fast Maurice Jones-Drew, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he is a monster. He is one of my favorite um RB targets because early on, usually people I try to target wide receivers unless like one of the gift running backs fall to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting these guys, it's like Chuba Hubbard, RJ Harvey, and Kenneth Walker, all in that same range from like 55 to 60. I'm pretty sure. Like, give me RJ Harvey all day. He's going to get a million targets. He's going to catch the ball a million times. He's going to run the ball. Like, he's going to do everything, in an offense that's definitely about to take a major step. So I'm a huge RJ Harvey stan. I would target him in fourth, fifth round of best ball drafts. Reach if you have to. Again, there's other running backs on the board where it's like I would actually reach for RJ Harvey's upside over what I know what I'm getting with one of these more like vanilla players. So
Yeah.
couldn't agree more, dude. He's a smash pick. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I think everybody's spot on with that pick. That was probably my biggest day two winner of the draft because it's like, dude, you're going into Sean Payton's Joker role.
Oh,
So you know
absolutely.
this kid's going to be a baller.
Absolutely, absolutely. One more question, then we're going to wrap it up here. Rank these guys redraft: Jacobs, Bucky, JT, and Genty.
Wow, that's a good one. So Jacobs, Bucky, JT, and Genty.
I'm going JT, Genty, Jacobs, Bucky. I'm not. I like Bucky, but I'm not falling for it based on the how high he's going right now.
Dude, I hate to do this, but I actually really agree with you, man. Like I
God
really
damn
do.
it! All
Like
right, all
I
right,
I
all right. We are done. We are not doing this anymore. No more live shows with you. You agree with me too much, and I agree with you too much. This is not going to work out. This relationship's over. I need someone who's the opposite, who can attract, and we're not attracting. We're going against each other.
I'm sorry I let you down, brother. I really am. Nah, dude, like you just like I love Jonathan Taylor. He's still 26, so there's still a lot of youth there. There's a lot of juice. The Colts, man, like why I like them is I love Shane Steichen. Um, I think he's a really good offensive mind. And it's like I'm gonna say something that's gonna make a lot of people hate me. I think Daniel Jones wins that job, and I actually don't think the Colts look bad next year. I think they will be a very friendly fantasy offense, especially for Jonathan Taylor. I think they're going to lean on him. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think he's a lock for top 10. And then I would take Genty too. Genty is, again, I love Genty. He like you watch just if you're ever bored and you're like if you're one of the guys that's like is Ashton Genty good, go watch the Penn State bowl game and just watch this kid's runs. Like he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage,
Hard.
still making it think, yeah, dude. And he was making stuff happen. You know, he's got good size, 5'9, 215, 220. I think Pete Carroll is going to give him a lot of volume. He's 21 years old, so he's going to be able to take that wear and tear, especially year one. So give me Genty at the second on that list. And then you have Josh Jacobs, man. You know, again, Packers underrated team. NFC North is a bloodbath. You know, like I think the worst team is the Bears, and that's kind of crazy
Yes, I'm
with
still standing on
all
that too.
yeah, like with all the stop agreeing with me, damn it.
Yeah, I know, right?
With all the acquisitions made, they beefed up the offensive line. Like the Bears, if you're a football fan and you're a Bears fan, you couldn't be happier what they did. Again, I would take Warren over Loveland, but I know there's people higher on Loveland because of his measurables and stuff. But the Bears, like with Ben Johnson, they're cooking, and that's like your worst team. But the Packers are very underrated. You look at Josh Jacobs' work last year. Again, not a big yard per carry guy, but he was a touchdown monster. And the only thing that concerns me about Jacobs is he is 27 years old, right? But he does actually get hurt pretty frequently. Like not
Mm-hmm.
like season-ending injuries, but like annoying ones where he's missing like a few games. You know what I mean? So it's like you have that risk with drafting him, but either way, he's a very high-end RB2, low RB1. So give me Jacobs third and then Bucky. Yeah, dude, like I agree with you again. I think Bucky good football player. Bucks made an awesome pick. Their GM, I love their GM, Lich. Right? He's been doing a really good job the last few years. And I think Bucky again. You're switching offensive coordinators. You have some other running backs there. You know, I feel the same way as you. Like I think he could be a guy that takes a hit. I don't know if we're going to see the same thing we saw year one, right? But again, this is why it's kind of confusing because you have a new offensive coordinator. You don't know how the offense is going to look. You don't know who he's going to, feature, and most likely will be him because all they have is Rashad White left, right?
You're right. Pretty much.
So, yeah, I'd put Bucky fourth on that list too.
All right. Then one last question, Mr. Magic, is would you take any of them over CMC? Me, I would probably take. I think it's shit.
I think I'm taking definitely Genty and Taylor
Yeah.
over CMC only because I mean I do think the Niners rebound this year. I definitely do. They're too good of a team not to rebound. But it's like I can't sit here and say full heartedly like I trust CMC's health. Like I trust the offense and I trust but I don't know how many games you're going to give me. You know what I mean? Like Christian, like
Mm-hmm.
how many games are you going to play this year? So you look at Genty, you look at Taylor, like you got two tanks, dude. They're going to get like monster volumes where it's like even if all three played healthy, like CMC would have to have a year like he did like 2 years ago where they weren't close. I think if all three healthy, like you're going to see similar production. I just think with Genti and Taylor, they're a little bit safer because of their durability. So I would take definitely those two. I would probably take Christian McCaffrey over Jacobs because then it's like, the same thing. Both are a little bit injury prone, but I know Christian McCaffrey is a better player. So give me Taylor and Genti over CMC. And then I would take CMC over the other two.
All right, man. It's a good talk. Good talk. And we'll wrap it up here. And man, what a great first show, I must say.
Hell yeah, man. Oh, dude, thanks for having me, man. I was excited to be here. I get to talk football all day, every day if people want to, listen to me yap. But yeah, man, thanks for having me, dude. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.